Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's nice to see you on this Tuesday. We now have potential tropical cyclone number 1, which is likely to become Tropical Storm Arthur in the next 24 hours. And because we now have an active tropical system, we're in alert mode here at Meteo Mundo. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to find a lot of up-to-date information, the tropical outlook, and details on the potential widespread flooding throughout a lot of the Gulf Coast of the United States, in addition to other watches, warnings, and advisories throughout the Caribbean and the Bahamas. But we are going to begin this video with the latest information on PTC number 1, which is again likely to become Arthur as we move into our Wednesday. Center of circulation is still just on shore south of Corpus Christi, but later on this Tuesday, it's going to merge off the Texas coastline and skirt the coast over the next 24 to 36 hours. With that short time frame to stay offshore, it's not going to develop into a very strong system, but the official forecast from the Hurricane Center does have this becoming a weak tropical storm. Regardless, we're likely to get at least a depression, and we're going to get a system that's going to stay sloppy and produce a lot of heavy rainfall and flooding rains through a vast area of the United States southeast. Let's take a look at what's happening on the visible satellite imagery. You can clearly see the center of circulation again. Now, a lot of the deepest convection is staying just offshore right now. When I throw back on these winds that you guys are going to see, these are going to be wind gusts in miles an hour coming up here. I'll pop those on for you right now and then bring on the buoy data as well. So all of the numbers that you see are wind gusts in miles an hour. The strongest winds, the deepest convection, are likely to stay east of the center of circulation. So the question becomes how long in time the center stays offshore and how far off the coastline it gets, because that can have significant differences in the amount of rain coastal Texas, including Houston, the Galveston Bay area, will see. And then eventually we're going to see some widespread flooding rains up through Louisiana, portions of Alabama and Mississippi, where they've really had some significant winds already here, 30, 40, and even 50 miles an hour. So the biggest widespread impact, regardless of the development of the system, is going to be the flooding rains. But before we get into that rainfall potential, let's talk about the tropical models and what they're showing right now. I'm going to take a look, first of all, at the European ensemble members. You can clearly see that development of that area of low pressure late Wednesday into early on Thursday. Now, the Euro is a model that keeps the center together through the United States southeast and potentially emerges it back off the United States east coast as we get towards next weekend. So it'll be something to monitor for the Western Atlantic Basin if that low can really hold together. It's been the most aggressive model with the development of this system, but so far it's also tracking because now again we have a better than 50-50 chance of getting a tropical storm. On the European AI model, it's much weaker. It quickly develops a low just off of Galveston Bay, but then basically has more of an elongated system across the United States southeast and nothing that is defined at the lower levels as we push into Thursday and Friday. So again, a very brief system, and I'm talking about maybe one that lasts less than 12 hours. Same situation with the GFS AI ensemble members, a brief low-level center could develop just off of the Texas-Louisiana coastline late tomorrow, but then quickly fitter away. Now, again, that's not going to discuss what the rainfall is going to be like. This is just whether we're going to get a true low-level center to get a depression or a tropical storm out of it. Looking at the German ICON model, same situation. We briefly have development of a system basically mid-morning on Wednesday, just off of Galveston Bay. That pressure would be teetering on very weak tropical storm or tropical depression status. Remember, we'll get a tropical depression at 35 miles an hour, but you just got to get to 39, you got yourself a tropical storm. So there's not much delineation. And again, tropical storms carry names, which is why we would have Arthur as the first one. Now, moving on to the widespread flood risk. This is going to be an issue that is going to carry itself from South Texas through a lot of the southeast United States in the coming days. So the first thing I want to show you right now is what's going on with the radar. So I'm going to bring up the radar and we're going to take a look at that and where the areas of flooding are already occurring. Now, as I have mentioned, some of the deepest convection is just offshore. You can see the lightning count from this view in the last 15 minutes, but the rain is spreading up from Corpus Christi, scattered showers. Some of them are already heavy in the Houston area, and you follow this elongated trough because, again, this system is very elongated from southwest to northeast, and some of the heaviest rain today has actually fallen in Louisiana, southern Mississippi, Hattiesburg, then back down towards New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, on up towards Montgomery. So again, these spots are in store for not just 1 or 2 days, but 3, 4, and maybe even 5 days of additional heavy rain. When we look at the excessive rainfall outlook for today, that deep red again carries into southwest Mississippi. These areas are likely to experience some flooding and flash flooding. So when we look at the advisories that are currently into play right now, these are a composite of the National Weather Service advisories across the area. All of the greens are going to be flood watches. Your lime greens are going to be flood warnings, and then the worst scenarios are your maroons. Those are going to be flash flood warnings, and some of those are in effect for places like Corpus Christi. Right now for the Houston area, it's flood watches and flood warnings. Then you get just north of the coast in Louisiana, and you've got a lot of flood warnings right now, including the Baton Rouge area of Louisiana back to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. So you get an idea of just the extent of the flooding that could be occurring in the next 24 to 48 hours, but it's going to get even worse than that as well. If we take a look at some of the models and the potential for the rainfall here, we'll start off with the GFS and then look at the European. Again, note that if the center of circulation can stay just offshore, it might be a better situation for the Houston, Galveston Bay Area back to Corpus Christi, keeping the bulk of the heaviest rain just offshore. And instead of, like yesterday, the European model trying to bring on more than a foot of rain into Houston, potentially now we're looking at maybe a few inches. I'm not buying the GFS as little as it's showing right now, because again, you get some spots that get up to 10, and the deep convective tropical nature of this system is likely to produce a lot of very, concentrated areas of significant rain, which these global models can't pick up much on. We'll take a look at the HRRR model coming up as well as a high resolution model. But you understand the idea that well away from where the center is, we're likely to get some significant heavy rainfall and flooding for central and southern sides of Alabama into portions of Georgia as well. If I go over to the HRRR model here, again, it's the high resolution rapid refresh. Let me pull it up for you guys. This is just going to be what it looks like in the next 48 hours. It is a 48-hour model, so let me pull that up for you real quick. I'm going to drop it back to our present time here, just so you guys can get an idea that even on the higher resolution models, we're still seeing a very sheared system with a very narrow window of opportunity to actually develop. But what's the more consistent thing across all models is significant rainfall falling near the center of circulation, but also well to the north and to the east. So again, this is going to be a problem for a lot of the southeast United States for the week ahead. Looking at the European models, rainfall totals. Again, locally, 4 to 8 inches widespread, locally 12 inches. That's coming straight from the National Hurricane Center. The European models underdoing it slightly, but you get the idea of the wide swath, hundreds and hundreds of miles wide of rainfall totals that could easily be 4 to 8 inches with locally up to 12. That's why we're going to have the flash flood warnings in effect for many areas. Make sure you check in with your local National Weather Service offices for up-to-date information. But friends, I'm going to keep you up to date on that, I promise you. Okay, we're going to now move on to what's happening across the rest of our area, because we're getting some rain back into portions of the Caribbean, as well as a series of tropical waves is moving in. You can see one wave here just coming into the Caribbean, another wave axis just south of Jamaica, and that has spelled some decent showers across the area. So that's going to be our next weather headline on this Tuesday, is that rain moving back into the Caribbean, and you can see some of that moisture beginning to billow up across the area right now. By the way, in El Nino, guess what else it's coming with? A lot of wind. Let me put those winds back on for you here. Hopefully they'll pop back on. So let's take a look at some of the winds across the area for today. San Juan, Aguadilla, on over towards Vieques, Culebra, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John. We've had wind gusts today, once again, well over 30 miles an hour. It's been a relatively dry day. Thankfully, we don't have the fire weather watch, but we're trying to billow up a couple of showers there at the present time. This is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. Again, you can see some localized rain here. Now, we still have the brisk easterlies. That's what's in control of the lower levels of the atmosphere, but also trying to get some back winds in the mid levels of the atmosphere out of the west. And that is what is allowing for some of the showers to develop across portions of the ABC Islands and the Dominican Republic and Haiti for today, with additional cross your finger showers trying to get towards Jamaica. Now look, I don't expect there to be a big chance for rain across Jamaica for today. You can see that forecast there for Montego Bay, and I do expect it to be drying out again before better rain chances try and move back in for the weekend. If nothing else, some cloud coverage. Now you're going to see at the bottom of your screen, we have the large wave and strong wind advisory back in effect for both the inshore and offshore waters of the south coast of Jamaica, including Pedro and Morant Banks, and we'll look at the marine forecast coming up as well. But a little bit more active weather across the area for today, especially back down towards the southern side of the Lesser Antilles and the Windward Islands. Additional cloud coverage for today for Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, where we're trying to fire up a couple of showers at the hour. If you've had some rain locally here, let me know in the comments section below. Let's check out if we've had any lightning out of this area. Let me bring that on. Doesn't look like we've had any lightning strikes as of yet, but hopefully a downpour here and there. That would be fantastic. Spotty rain trying to develop over the ABC Islands. It's not a lot, my friends of the ABC Islands. Let me know in the comments section below if you've seen any of that. And again, just some brisk rain from time to time through portions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Our Central American gyre still quite active for today. Let me make sure we're looping this back up for you guys here. Still quite active for today. Still have a weak low just off the Panama coastline, so heavy thunderstorms there. But it's not translating that farther north today. So most of Nicaragua dry, most of Honduras dry. Belize looks great for today. Not a bad day in Cancun and Cozumel. And we're looking pretty good in the Bahamas as well. It's a situation where we're likely to not get a lot of rain in the Bahamas over the next couple of days. Potentially a few storms drifting into the far northwest Bahamas as thunderstorms develop off of the peninsula of Florida, then race their way. Your best chance is going to be Grand Bahama, northern sides of the Abacos, including Little Abaco and Walker's Key. Now down the road, a place that might have to watch out for that center of circulation is going to be Bermuda, if that can hold together. But again, right now, the European ensembles are the only one that's showing that. So friends, as we're going to move on to the rest of the forecast, I do appreciate you guys taking a quick set, hitting that subscribe button for me. If you want your latest forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas and all of your tropical information in the Atlantic, you found your home. Thanks for taking a quick second and liking and subscribing. Appreciate all the members of the channel as well. And all of that helps to support us, and we really do appreciate all of that. So now let's move on to what's next. What am I expecting in the next week or so outside of PTC number 1, again, likely to become Tropical Storm Arthur? Where are we going to see the best chance for some active weather? Well, as we do that, I'm going to switch over to our marine forecasts. Again, 25 areas, major harbors, major cruise ports, major fishing areas. You get your tidal information, your maximum wave heights, and your water temperatures, which again, in some spots, as we're now pushing into mid-June, are beginning to hit that 80-degree Fahrenheit threshold to potential support tropical development. But of course, the good news is right now, Caribbean, Western Atlantic Basin closed off because of all of the shear in association with El Nino and just the brisk winds. All right, so let's bring up our model here. Take 1 second to just load that up fully. Now, we mentioned in the last video yesterday, and this might take just a second for everything to fully load up here, so bear with me, that we are seeing more significant tropical waves beginning to move into the Atlantic Basin. They're still very low south in latitude, right? They're still tied to what we call the intertropical convergence zone. So this time of the year, they're always fighting the Saharan and the drier air to the north, and it takes throughout June and even sometimes a lot of July for them to begin to gain enough north latitude to really have impacts to our area. Where I do expect, again, the opportunity for some of this tropical moisture to get back into the forecast is going to be our friends in the Windward Islands. I'm just going to drop this model down just a little bit in time. The Windward Islands. So if you live in TNT, Grenada, the Grenadines like Bequia and Carriacou, St. Vincent, Barbados, maybe St. Lucia. If you looked at your 5-day forecast earlier, you're going to see a little bit better chance for rain in these areas. That's some good news. I think you get, again, north of Martinique, Dominica on over towards Antigua, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius, Anguilla, places like that, my friends in Montserrat. And we could have a few spotty showers with the easterlies, but that's about all that I expect here the next 3 to 4 days. Scattered rain possible for my friends in the Virgin Islands as well, from Anegada, Virgin Gorda, Roadtown, Tortola, St. Croix, St. Thomas, Christiansted as well, Vieques and Culebra. Again, a few showers, which is not a bad situation for Puerto Rico, but mainly on the eastern sides of the island. Not a lot of rain and concentration expected for the Dominican Republic and Haiti over the next few days. Drier air trying to move in. We're going to get some downpours here and there. It's not going to be a completely dry forecast, but again, not in a lot of way of additional heavy storms. Again, I'm hoping maybe a shower or two eastern side of Jamaica for today. It's not going to surprise me. My friends in Jamaica say, Rusty, we were completely dry. Don't expect a lot of rain in the next couple of days. Maybe by this weekend, another surge of tropical moisture and associated with the tropical wave gets far enough in latitude to produce a couple of showers across the island. We know regardless the winds are going to be fresh. Bahamas forecast right now, again, very isolated rain in the days to come, somewhat windy conditions, but right now the boating forecast looks good. We'll have to monitor again, does this system hold together and pull off of the United States East Coast? Because if it does, I would likely expect to see a little bit better rain chance for the northern and northwest Bahamas over the weekend ahead as well. Again, you've already seen the model with what this is doing with PTC number 1, likely to be Arthur. It's mostly going to be the opportunity for the heavier rain. I will say there is a storm surge potential of 2 to 4 feet for the Houston, Galveston Bay area over towards Lake Charles, Louisiana. And that blue line that you see are the tropical storm watches that are in effect. Again, not a tropical storm warning at this point in time, but it is supposed to become a tropical storm with winds of around 40 miles an hour as we move into our Wednesday. Otherwise, for Central America, scattered showers lifting up towards Honduras. But if you live towards Belize and Cancun and Cozumel there in Quintana Roo, outside of a couple of isolated showers, we're going to be dry. Looking at the rainfall totals over the next 5 days. Again, all based off of the European, widespread 4 to 8 inches, likely higher than that in a couple of areas. South sides of Central America with it creeping up a little bit north. Do expect, again, a little bit better chance for some rain. Central southern sides of the Lesser Antilles, especially into the Windward Islands. And then not a lot of really good rain. Maybe, again, an isolated spot with a couple of showers for the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola over towards the Bahamas. Clearly, based on the European model, the bulk of the heaviest rain stays to the north of our areas. Obviously, watch out for churned up waters along the Gulf to go along with the storm surge, but the winds are going to stay brisk in the Caribbean. There are many areas right now with marine advisories that are in effect for the wind for the most part, so those areas are likely to continue to experience some issues. I would also expect to see additional marine issues coming back into portions of the Eastern Caribbean. I know right now for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as just an example, there are some marine advisories that are currently in effect, and I'll be monitoring that situation for you guys. So to recap the situation right now, again, just emerging off of the Texas coast is potential tropical system number 1, which is likely to become Tropical Storm Arthur or stay a weak tropical depression. It's not going to have enough time to develop into anything more than that, but it could bring a 2 to 4 foot storm surge and extensive widespread flooding rains from the coastline of Texas all the way through Louisiana, portions of southern and central Alabama and Mississippi, and eventually down the road, we might have to talk about the panhandle of Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas. There's just a lot of tropical moisture that'll be feeding into this system in the days to come. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for making Meteo Mundo a part of your daily routine. Got a question about the forecast? Feel free to drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, thank you for liking and subscribing. Have a great rest of your day. I'll monitor the situation, and I'll see you tomorrow with the latest forecast.